Welcome to the Speaking of Math podcast, episode number 13 by Door to Math. This podcast is devoted to all things math education and how parents can be a positive factor in their kids' math learning. Math is the gateway to many professional careers as well as confidence and personal growth. Find more information at www.doortomath.com. So let's get on with the topic of the day. I have a Facebook friend from way back from graduate school. He's in Thailand, and he has two kids in Thailand, and we share stuff back and forth about our kids in Facebook. And he said, "Your kids are doing pretty well. Is it due because your wife is a math coach?" And I said, "Yeah." So we did an episode on that last week, and some of the essence of that is choose the school choose the school that's right for your child at the right time. Don't go after the teacher and look for teachable moments. So you can listen to the last episode. Now, having said that, there are things that we wish we would have done better or differently, and we'll talk about that in this episode. Let's start with that. So what's the biggest thing you wish you would have done differently?
Well, the first one on my wish list is that our son is born in July. So if you are in this public school system, you know July is the latest you can be born and still get in the same year. So at the beginning of his year, our daughter is born in September, so she is always the oldest one. And part of me know that there's such advantage being the older one in the class growing up, and I see that with my clients. I see that with a lot of moms share with me. I wish I didn't rush my kids. But when it comes to push come to shove, and he was so smart and ahead of his class, yada, yada, yada. So I did not hold my ground and say, no, you'll wait another year. As a result, Byron, our son, is one of the youngest one in his class, and I always felt he's the last one to drive, he's the last one to do this, and so on and so forth. So on top of my wish list is I wish I had stood my ground and have him be the older kid instead.
So being the last one to drive, yeah, that affects him, but that doesn't seem like it would affect his math grades. He did relatively well in math already. What would holding him a year do for his math?
No, actually, I think it put a lot of pressure on him. So when he was offered a Calculus 1 as a freshman, it was very hard for him not wanting to take it because on one hand, he says, I'm young, I'm freshman, I'm offered a Calculus 1 already. So he kind of had a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to prove himself. But I believe had he been 1 year older, when offered a Calculus 1, he can see, oh, I don't really need it to show anybody I know stuff. I just know. So I think that I believe put a lot more pressure on him.
So if you're younger, you feel a lot more pressure than say you're older. So our daughter, who is the oldest one in the class, you felt that she didn't feel the same pressure?
That's correct. I believe our daughter had a more sense of a balance. She didn't have to prove as much.
All right. Now, what about those parents who say their child is really smart, and they are really smart, and they put them 2 or 3 years ahead, and they're in college, taking college classes by the time they're 14 or 15?
Well, if you got a really smart one, it's hard to keep them really engaged in school. I can definitely see why you would want to do that. Over the years, though, one thing I learned, academic is such a small slice of a kid's life down the road. How happy they are, well-adjusted, how much friendship they have, and what kind of giving person they are, how they feel about themselves. There's so many aspects, and trying to single-handedly shove one area academic ahead, I believe in the end, it's not a good idea, in my opinion.
So if in doubt, if you're on the borderline, hold your child back.
Yes. What's on your list? What's top of your list?
I believe if we were more involved with our school, I think that would have the extracurricular activities. I think I would have done that more than the other ones.
What's the reason you would do that? It's time consuming, and in the end, it doesn't really push too much on the college application. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I think that shows commitment from your child, and it's more of a bonding experience with your child to do that.
I see. So what I hear is not so much for the school loyalty-wise, but it's more of a bonding time with your kid.
I think so, yeah.
I see. Another thing on my list is that when our kids were young, having grown up in another country, I didn't see the value of birthday parties. I know this is probably not relatable for a lot of listeners out there. If you guys are doing birthday party, great. I just didn't see that need for it. And looking back, I think it's such missed opportunity where you build the friendship and you see what kind of people you're drawn to and why you're drawn to it, and how to fight fair and how to recover after fight. I think looking back, that's one thing I missed for our kids.
The other thing I think I missed is we started going to parent-teacher conferences when our son was in high school. Our daughter kind of didn't want us to go to parent-teacher conferences, and she said she'll handle it on her own, and she did. So I think in retrospect, I wish I would have gone to more of those.
Why is that?
To get to know the teacher, and maybe the teacher knows something about what your son or daughter is doing wrong or not doing right, and maybe in that setting you can hear it, where in other settings you might not be able to hear it.
I have a mixed feeling about that. On one side, most teachers don't want to offend parents, so they're very gentle on what to say, and then when they do say it, it's probably just me. I had a hard time to hear, okay, was there something you want me to do, or are you just trying to pat my back? I got, to me, those parent-teacher actually is pretty stressful for me. And I'm glad you took them all on yourself, and I thank you for that.
All right, and the final one, I don't know if we got the ratio, is when do you correct them, make contributions to them, discipline, and when do you have fun with them? So I think we stay too much on the contribution discipline part rather than the having fun part. So I think I would add more having fun part as in compared to the contribution part.
I totally agree on that one. At work, I would say the ratio of fun versus how much math I really give on. I would strive to get the students to the point that they're willing to receive the contribution before I really teach the math. In the math, the more able they are willing to receive, the much more faster and enjoyable the info was flowing. I was doing that work, but I don't think I transferred as much as I wanted to our private life with our own two kids.
All right. I think that's all I can think of. Can you think of anything else?
I think you pretty much wrapped it up. So to wrap it up, what would you say the summary would be? What's the top three?
All right. So for me, change the ratio of having fun with your child versus contributing to them, disciplining them, setting them on the right path. So maybe have more fun with them. And second one for me specifically is participate in more school activities, so to get to know the teachers and for a bonding experience. And the third one is if there's a choice, it's better to hold your child back a grade rather than move them up ahead, even though sounds better that your child is a grade ahead. But for long-term personal development, it's better to hold them back a grade.
I think you had it.
All right, that's it, and until next time.
Happy parenting.